Well, it's Saturday the 7th of September, and this is episode 2422 of 301 Permanently Moved Online, a personal podcast 301 seconds in length, written, recorded, and edited by me, at the JMO. I've recently been reading Dead Famous, An Unexpected History of Celebrity from Bronze Age to Silver Screen by Greg Jenner. It's a great book and covers a lot of ground between fame and celebrity, and why the latter only emerged in the early 18th century. The book has got me thinking about a different kind of fame, when someone's deeds and actions are so impactful that their name echoes through history and becomes part of everyday language. Not celebrity, but eponymity, a strange kind of immortality where a person's legacy outlives them in the form of language itself. Draco of Athens around 600 BC gave us draconian, meaning unforgiving rules, and King Pyrrhus from Epirus, whose costly victories gave rise to the term Pyrrhic victory, a win so devastating it's almost like defeat. In more recent times, there's people like Lord Montague, the 4th Earl of Sandwich, Etienne de Selouet, Louis Pasteur, Henry Shrapnel, or Jean Nicot, who introduced tobacco to France in the 16th century. Patrick Hooligan sounds like a made-up name, but he was a real person too. Originally named Houlihan, Patrick was an Irishman who emigrated with his family from the Limerick area to London, settling in Southwark sometime in the 1850s. There he worked as a bouncer and soon gained notoriety as a petty criminal, leading a gang involved in street muggings, vandalism, and fights. The gang's base was a local pub on Borough High Street, originally called the Cooper's Arms, but it was locally known as the Bucket of Blood, which is an incredible name for a pub, so named because of the brutal bare-knuckle fights that used to take place there. Later, in the 1870s, Hooligan was imprisoned for killing a policeman during a street fight, dying inside. But by the turn of the century, hooliganism had entered the English language, just as we use it today to describe reckless and violent behaviour. Authors like Arthur Conan Doyle, H.G. Wells, and Dickens all use the term in their writing. There's another word connected to the Irish, and the main one that I want to tell you about today, mostly because I fell down a bit of a Wikipedia rabbit hole the other day, and I need to tell someone. The term boycott comes from the life of one Captain Charles Cunningham Boycott, an English land agent in 19th century Ireland. First, a little context. In the 1870s, Irish tenant farmers, as part of a broader struggle for land reform, had begun forming associations to demand the 3 Fs: fair rent, fixity of tenure, and free sale, all in the face of oppressive rents and frequent evictions from the English landowners. In 1879, the Irish National Land League was formed to agitate for these demands. The Land League was deeply influential from its founding. One of its founders, Charles Stewart Parnell, is most famous for a speech laying out the tactics of contemporary cancel culture, known as social ostracism. Parnell said, "When a man takes a farm from which another has been evicted, you must shun him as if he were a leper of old." And this strategy of isolating those who broke community solidarity, whether they were landlords, their agents, or even neighbours, was soon tested on Captain Boycott. Boycott was a land agent for Lord Ernie, a wealthy landowner in County Mayo, taking up the job after his retirement from the British Army in 1854. In 1880, after a poor harvest, buoyed by the support from the Land League, local tenants demanded a 25% reduction in rent. When Boycott refused and issued eviction notices, the community fought back. Local women threw stones, mud and manure at the process server and the police, successfully driving them away. And word spread quickly, and soon Boycott's labourers, servants and local businesses all abandoned him, leaving him isolated. Even Boycott's nephew, who attempted to deliver his mail, was warned that he would face danger if he continued. Boycott was now the target of a full-scale social and economic exclusion campaign. No one would work for him, sell to him, or even speak to him. He was forced to import food and provisions by boat from the nearby town of Cong. Desperate to save his crops and execute his responsibilities, Boycott appealed to the British press, which, like today, never having met a working-class struggle they didn't despise, were able to mobilise government support for the captain. Boycott brought in loyalist workers under British military protection, but the cost of the operation was far more than the crops were worth, resulting in the London press turning on Boycott too as a waste of public funds. Ultimately humiliated, Boycott was forced to leave Ireland in disgrace. This act of social and economic ostracism was so effective that Boycott's name became a verb in his own lifetime, forever linking him to public rejection. His name was first used by the Irish to describe the actions of the farmers, and then, only a few months later, the Birmingham Post used the word in connection to a worker boycott of a local Ballinrobe merchant. Just 8 years later, in 1888, it was included in the first edition of the Oxford English Dictionary, and the captain didn't die until 1897. One day you're collecting rent, and the next day your name's forever linked to defeat and public shame. Sounds good to me.